living in somewhere else. The Irish Independent, the new minister, and the 35k retirement cheque. And this is Agriculture Minister Michael Creed, is among several TDs due to get lucrative payments of a combined €335,000 from local authorities on which they served as councillors, but they've moved into the Dáil. Well, then, I just looked through the pictures in the Irish Independent, and who we got? We got Eugene Murphy, Declan Brannock, Catherine Connolly, TD, Independent, and Imelda Munster, who's from Louth, Mick Barry of Cork, Breed Smith, the AAA People for Profit, Dublin South Central, and also Pat Casey from Wicklow, Fianna Fáil TD. Are you there, Pat?
I am, Declan. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. These are the things that make people very annoyed. So I'm sure there's an explanation that you'd like to give on this to maybe, calm people down a little bit. But, people look at it as a bit of a gravy train.
And I can understand that the way it is portrayed. But listen, it's not a payment that's only to TDs who have been elected. This is a councillor's gratuity payment that's in place since 2004, and all councillors are entitled to the payment based on the period of years that they have served. And there is a number of conditions. The payment doesn't come due until you're over 50. Hence the fact that John Brady is not on the list, but he will be on the list once he hits 50, because his payment will then be due. And it's a gratuity payment, I think, basically I think it's around 3,000 per annum served on the council. I've served, 12 and a half years on the council, so the payment works out at 39,000. And I know from the public perception that it is the gravy train, it is more of the same thing. But I suppose there was no gratuity payment structured in local authority services for the councillors, and there was something put in place back in 2004 that was measurable and it was agreed, and it's above board and it's there for everybody to see. So it does work back to, my salary in the council was 16,000, and then you get a gratuity payment of 3,000 per annum. So it works out a salary of probably 19,000 per annum. Yeah. And I can understand what people are saying.
Well, people often say then, okay, if they're moving out and retiring and that's it, no more public life, and maybe there's, people will be understanding about that. Well, when they're moving into what people see as a more lucrative job and still the payment comes, then they get really annoyed.
Yeah, but it is a once-off payment, Declan. It's not a pension like you would receive normally. It's a flat payment based on the years of service. So it's not something that I will be paid from now until the end of my life. It's just this once-off payment, and it is a significant payment. I'm not running that down, but it is based on the number of years service. It is not a pension, so it is not payable anymore. That's the end of it, full stop.
And if, you lost your seat and went back to the council, well, how would that apply again, say, if you got re-elected there?
Well, then it would start from the time I got re-elected again.
Right.
So the previous payment would have been taken into account. So if I was to lose my seat, contest the next local elections, be elected to the council, then the clock would only start at that point in time.
Okay. And then
it is payable to all public representatives and to all councillors.
And then people will be asking, don't you get your expenses and whatever it is when you're a councillor itself? Why would you get something when you're finished being a councillor?
Well, I suppose the fact that it isn't pension related and there's no pension contributions. When you are a public representative, I suppose they came up with this, the government at the time came up with this proposal of a gratuity payment, which all of us are entitled to.
Right, so you're taking it anyway?
Yes, Declan, I actually indeed arrived last week. That's why it's in the press, and the payment has been made through the council process.
Right.
And some people are saying that they give charity. I think in fairness to all public representatives gave significant contributions to charity over the years, and I'm sure I will be continuing to give payments to charities in the forthcoming years. Is you either make it pensionable and it forms part of your salary as you're working through the thing, and it's based that way, and you do get a pension payment, or you leave it as it is, which is a gratuity payment based on the number of years serviced by all public representatives at council level.
Okay, what do you think of the new government?
Oh, well, listen, yeah, I suppose, it was at long last. Eventually we have a government. I suppose it was a very interesting day on Friday to be sitting in the Dáil. I was on with Niall on Saturday going through it. It was a tense moment on Friday, and was actually right down to the last 15 minutes before we seen some of the independents appearing in the Dáil, so it was a very tight thing. And I suppose we must congratulate Simon Harris on his elevation to the Minister for Health, a huge portfolio, and we must wish him well in that job, because it is a significant job he's taken on.
Yeah, he's very young. This is the first major appointment for him, and it is in what has been described in the past as Angola. Many people might say he might be just too young and inexperienced to take on such a mammoth task as trying to contribute to sorting out the health service. Yeah,
all these points are maybe justifiable, but I mean, Simon has proven himself, and I think we all have to give Simon credit. His energy that he brings to the job will be incredible. Maybe he doesn't have the amount of experience, but he's come out straight away, and I fully agree with him. The health service is not going to be fixed in 3 years. It's not going to be fixed in 5 years. And I fully agree with him that it needs to be a long-term strategy to try and fix the health service of this country. And I will support him in whatever way I can in relation to that. And I think we all, the interesting thing, the government is going to be completely different than we've ever seen before. And maybe this could be a good thing, where there has to be consensus across the whole Dáil before anything can be put through. And one of the health things, and I even said it at my own parliamentary party meeting, one of the things that should be looked at on a long-term basis is the health service, because we're not going to fix it overnight. It's too big of an issue. And the other thing that some people forget, there's a lot of the health service actually working very well. And, we don't need to come down on it all the time. There's a lot that does need to be fixed with it. And I fully agree with Simon in relation that we should look at a long-term plan for the health service.
Any word on the melanoma situation in Vincent's Hospital?
Yeah, actually, and I was going to bring that up, Declan, in fairness, and I might get on to Simon now. I only got word back on Friday afternoon stating clearly that the St. Vincent's Clinic will be closed from May until September for any new referrals. Now, I have tried to make contact. The next one will be St. James's to see is there a situation there where it's hard to get an appointment. And I think there is a delay there, and we all know in relation to melanoma how serious that is in relation to skin cancer, and early intervention is critical. So I'll be following up on that this week, but I only got correspondence on Friday afternoon clearly stating that due to a resource issue, which is disappointing because it's a maternity leave issue is what I've been led to believe. They knew months in advance that this was going to happen, and they haven't put a locum in place to take up the slack in relation to that. Now, I just pray and hope that, when it gets through to St. James's, there isn't a delay in admissions times, because we all know how important early intervention is.
All right. Okay, TD Pat Casey of Fianna Fáil. Thanks very much indeed, Pat. Good morning.
Thank you, Declan.
Take care.
All the best.
Bye-bye. All right, our number here, 087